It's the question that we're all asking ourselves. After Indiana loses to Ohio State for their first loss of the season, are the Hoosiers still a college football playoff team?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Well, thank you so much for being here. Shout out to all of my everydayers, those of you that listen or watch this show every single day, Monday through Friday. Reminder, this is a free podcast to you. So it's a free 25, 30 minutes of Indiana content, Big Ten content, football, basketball, you name it. We got it. So thank you so much for being here. To all my loyal everydayers, maybe some of my new everydayers, and maybe you're just passing through, and I really do appreciate you being here today. We got basketball updates for you in this show, men's and women's, as the men get going in this feast week. And I'm ready for us to be a part of it, man. There's crazy basketball going on right now. So updates for you on the hoops side of things. Plus, in this college football conversation, this college football playoff conversation, who gets more teams in, the Big Ten or the SEC? And will one of those big teams, or should one of those Big Ten teams, be the Indiana Hoosiers? It's a question that I think a lot of people are asking going into tonight's rankings, right? It's another Tuesday. We get more college football playoff rankings. And I would like to say we're going to get a lot of answers, but I just don't know if we are, right? Because we still have a week of games to play. We still have a rivalry weekend to happen where I don't think there's going to be many crazy upsets, but I also didn't think that a week ago either. And then you did see a top 5 Indiana team, not calling it an upset, just saying a top 5 Indiana team goes down. You see Alabama go down. You see BYU go down. You see Colorado go down. You see Ole Miss go down. Like, you see a lot of these teams that were hanging around the college football playoff have now dropped. And some of them are eliminated. Others may not be. We'll get to more of that in just a little bit. But the main question is Indiana a playoff team? And should we be a playoff team? And I think everybody has their own opinion on this. And I think everybody has a reasoning. And look, until it's final, until we get the final official rankings and brackets, nobody's right and nobody's wrong. But I'll give you my answer. Yes, I think we are a playoff team. And I think Indiana should be a playoff team. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I think wins should matter. I think wins should be rewarded in this sport. I think wins should be rewarded in any sport that you play. Sure, losses are going to happen sometimes. You're going to have an undefeated team every now and then, but most teams in a sport throughout a season are going to have a loss or two. And I get that. And growing up, when I was growing up, right in the BCS era, if you lost, you're done. See you later. Come back next year. Maybe you can make the Rose Bowl. Maybe you can make the Fiesta Bowl, but you're not making the national championship game. And people didn't really like that in college football. They said, well, we gotta make this a little bit easier, right? We're basing this off a computer system, and if you lose one game, your whole season's out the window. So we changed it, and we implemented the college football playoff with a 4-team playoff, where then you were given a loss, right? You could afford to lose a game. And you saw 1-loss teams make it to the playoff. You even saw 2-loss teams flirting to make the playoff. But that wasn't good enough for them. That wasn't good enough for ESPN. That wasn't good enough for the NCAA. That wasn't good enough for college football fans. They said, yeah, but that's just not fair. I mean, we lost 2 games. We should be able to get in. So they said, you know what? That's a great idea. Let's expand that sucker. Let's let more teams in. And that's exactly what they've done. And now you can afford to lose 2 or 3 games. I mean, you have people talking about 3-loss teams who have a chance to make the college football playoff. And that's fine because a lot of those teams have some really nice wins. And I think those should be rewarded too. I think top 25 tough wins should be rewarded. But a win is a win. And just because it's not against the team you wanted it to be, or it wasn't against the opponent you wanted it to be, or it wasn't the way you wanted it to be for a certain team, doesn't mean the win is null and void. And I'm talking about Indiana, as we're still a 10-win football team. Remember when that meant something? Remember when winning 10 games was a milestone for most college football teams in a regular season? Indiana, we're making history right now, this season, with a 10-win team, about to be 11 after we beat the brakes off of Purdue, as we're 4-touchdown favorites as of this morning. And so I don't understand where that has started to get lost in this switch and all of this movement in college football. I'm sorry that Maryland sucks. I'm sorry that our Big Ten schedule's not good. I can't help that. We beat Michigan. We competed. I'm not going to say we hung, but we competed with Ohio State, right? Some of the other games on our schedule, like, look, I get it. I totally understand. The strength of schedule got better after Ohio State. Michigan State, I'm sorry they're not good. Washington, sorry they're not good. Nebraska, sorry they're not good. On the road at UCLA, sorry they're not good. I don't know what you want us to do other than scheduling better out-of-conference games, which I get that argument. I do. I get it. But do you really get rewarded for winning those games? Do you really get rewarded for beating a good non-conference opponent? I don't see many people talking about that. And this whole new playoff system, yes, it encourages teams to schedule weak out-of-conference opponents. I don't like that, and that's a whole separate conversation here. But bottom line is this. Indiana's a good football team, and Indiana's a top 12 football team in America. They deserve to be in the college football playoff. We have done enough to make it to the college football playoff. I don't care that we haven't beaten the greatest teams of all time. We're winning games, and winning games by an average of 30 points in those wins. Like, that should be rewarded. And Indiana should not be punished any harder for losing a top 5 game on the road to probably the second best team in the country. We should not be punished any harder than Notre Dame for losing to Northern Illinois, to teams losing 2, 3, and 4 times, or teams just losing horrifically. Like, that should not happen. But yet, everybody outside of Bloomington wants to absolutely bury the Hoosiers because they just don't want us to be good. They can't stand the fact that Indiana has a legitimate football team now. And that's okay. That's fine. And there will be people that think they should be in for different reasons than me. There will be people that think they should not be in for the same reasons, different reasons, whatever. But until we see the final results, we're just not going to know. My thoughts really quickly, I think in the new rankings tonight, I think Indiana will still be in. AP poll, we're still a top 10 team. We may be top 12 in the rankings, but that doesn't mean you're top 12 team in the bracket. Stupid system, right? It's crazy. But I still think we hang around. I still think we're hanging on for now. And I still think there's going to be a lot more chaos around college football. And now we move to who gets more teams in, the Big Ten or the SEC? What about the other conferences too? Indiana's a part of this. We'll have that coming up for you next right here on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. It's the best ticketing app in the game. I've told you all the time, and I'll continue to tell you because they're just that good. They've got so many features, I can't even tell you all about them. I don't have time. They'll yell at me for talking too much about how great the Game Time app is. Their Game Time Picks feature right now, it filters out all the fluff to show you the incredible deals on the best seats at any venue for any sort of event. Music, comedy, theater, sports, you name it, and they got it, right? How about some of these features? They're all in pricing, so you toggle this. It's going to show your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. And the Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. And I've done this before. I bought tickets, couldn't go, reached out, went through their customer service, boom, easy, said and done, got my money back. And then I eventually spent it again on Game Time, but they were super, super easy to use and very, very polite, super understanding. And I got my money back almost instantly. So that's what's great about the Game Time app. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account if you haven't already and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much for being here again. Shout out to all of my everydayers. And for those of you that come back Monday through Friday, 5 days a week supporting this show, it's gone up like crazy. I mean, this football season has been so much fun and so special for a lot of people. But for me in particular, it's been so much fun to cover this team and have so many of you join on to this wonderful Locked On Hoosiers family. So thank you so much for being here. And for those of you that are on the audio platforms right now, your Spotify, Amazon, Apple, however you get us over there, thank you so much. Be sure that you are following us if you can. Have those notifications turned on. Wouldn't want you to miss any special episodes, okay? So be sure you have that. And then for those of you on YouTube watching on the video right now, be sure you like it. All right, be sure you comment down below. Is Indiana still a college football playoff team? Let me know down there. And then be sure, if you have not already, that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Well, with Indiana's playoff hopes kind of hanging in the balance, I feel like there's a lot of other teams in the Big Ten and from the other big conference that are in this same boat. And I pose this question to you. Which conference will get more teams in the college football playoff as we look at it going into the rankings tonight with rivalry weekend coming up this weekend, right? I still think there's chaos to be had. I really, really do. Just given how this season has gone in college football, it would be dumb to say there's not more chaos that could happen around this college football playoff. And so how many teams does each conference get in and who gets more? I think right now it's safe to say the Big Ten probably gets more, right? Just based off of what we're seeing in the last couple of polls, right? People are getting frustrated because, oh, the Big Ten's got a, where's this Big Ten bias come from? It's the SEC just being mad. They'll be fine, I promise. But you look at what's going on. Oregon's still there. Ohio State's still there. Penn State's still there. Indiana is really important in this conversation. We are that fourth team because, look, let's be real. Oregon's not going anywhere. Ohio State's not going anywhere. And for whatever reason, Penn State's not going anywhere. And so and look, wins have to matter, right? Wins have to matter. And that's why Penn State should be a playoff team. Whether I think they're good or not, that's a separate conversation. Wins should matter, which is why Penn State will make it. But Indiana is the fourth team for the Big Ten, which could put us at the top and make us give us the most bids. I know that's not what it's about at the end of the day, but I do think it would be a really cool way to flex our muscles here in the Big Ten and say, yeah, we're back. And this expanded playoff, we just dominated. Now, you start looking around these other conferences in college football, and you got to start with the other big boy, the SEC, who they're up in arms right now because they had an atrocious weekend. I mean, a terrible weekend in college football. Texas is still up there. That's fine. They're going to win the conference. Texas will most likely get the first round bye out of the SEC, but you've got Georgia who's moved up. And I'm looking at the AP poll, and this won't be a direct reflection in the playoff rankings, but it gives you an idea, right? Georgia's moved up. Tennessee has moved up, right? Because Alabama lost, Ole Miss lost, Texas A&M lost. I mean, there's a lot that happened this weekend around the SEC that really, really hurt their chances to put several teams in this playoff. I mean, remember preseason, Southeastern Conference is talking, oh, we're going to get 5, 6, 7 teams in the college football playoff. We're so great. I don't know. I don't think so. I think you're looking at 3 teams from the SEC. I think Texas, I think Georgia, and I'm thinking probably Tennessee. And I think that's it. I don't think Ole Miss gets in. I don't think Alabama gets in. I don't think South Carolina gets in, even if they beat Clemson, which now moves us to the ACC really quickly here. The Big 12, I ain't touching that because, man, I have no idea what's going on over there. They've got like 8 or 9 teams in contention to still win their conference. Holy smokes, that's insane. Let the games play out, and then we'll move on from there. We'll try to figure all that mess out. ACC, you've got SMU, you've got Miami, and you've got Clemson. Can all 3 of those teams make it in? I don't know. I think all 3 are good enough, sure. But you're going to run out of spots here very, very quickly. And again, when you look back at what the Big Ten's trying to do, Indiana's very important there. And I'm afraid that Indiana could get caught. I'm afraid we could get caught in this conversation of it's not about the most deserving, it's about the best, right? We're focused, the Nick Saban statement, right? Where we're trying to get the best teams in. I still think Indiana is one of the best 12 teams in college football. I firmly believe that. I really, really do. But I'm afraid there are a lot of people that don't, especially with how we performed on Saturday against Ohio State. And that's fair. That's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But again, I go back to the fact that wins have to matter here. And I don't want us to get caught up in, well, who do we think is better, Indiana or Clemson? Indiana or Alabama? Indiana or BYU or Arizona State or Colorado or whoever that they're trying to squeak in from one of these other major conferences. I don't want to be in those conversations because I'm afraid that we lose. I'm afraid we lose in the conversation. Not in the game. Not in the game. I think we're better than all those teams. But I'm afraid that people won't give us that credit because of the schedule that we've played. Which, again, I get it. I just don't think it's accurate. I don't think it's right. And so I don't want to be in that spot. I don't want to be there. Indiana's got to take care of business against Purdue this weekend. And I guess we're looking for some more chaos, right? I mean, you start looking around and the teams that are going to be near us. South Carolina beating Clemson, that would be nice. How about Auburn beating Alabama in the Iron Bowl? That would be nice. Tennessee plays Vanderbilt. That would be nice, right? Georgia plays Georgia Tech. That ain't happening. SMU maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Miami maybe. Boise State. But still, they're out of the group of 5. So yeah, I mean, a couple of those teams that I just named. In terms of us making the playoff, Indiana, we need some help still, just to be sure. And tonight's rankings may give us some more clarity. Sorry, that was a joke. Tonight may give us some idea of what we could see in the final rankings in this thing. I don't know, man. We just got to let the games play out and let them decide what they decide. They're going to do whatever they want to do. Again, they sit behind closed doors. The jokes have been made that they eat fancy cheese and drink champagne, and it's probably true. And then they just throw something together and present it to the world with no repercussions. It is what it is. I can't believe we've allowed it to be what it is, but guess what? They didn't ask me, and that's okay. I still think Indiana's a playoff team. I still think we will be a playoff team, and I still think we should be a playoff team. Well, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, flipping over to basketball, a couple of updates there. The men get going in Atlantis this week, plus the women started out slow, got some big wins, but tough one in their last game we just saw. We'll talk about both of those programs coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you could have done that yesterday or on for Monday Night Football. You also have Thursday Night Football. Did you take the Ravens? Did you take the Ravens to beat the Chargers, who tried to make a little bit of a comeback? I hated to see Dobbins go down, but Henry had another great game. So if that was your hunch, you could have done all of that. You could have placed live bets on that game all in one place on the FanDuel app. So when the next time that you start to get a little itch, right? It's like, ooh, I know what's coming. I know what's about to happen. You can do that. Check out latest stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page that you place your bets. It's FanDuel.com. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook and official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Final segment on Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here. Want to switch gears on you really quickly and talk about some college basketball. Feast week is here, and I just want to start by saying this is, other than March, right? Other than the tournament, obviously, this is my favorite week of college basketball because there's so many great games and there's so many great tournaments, and Indiana gets to be a part of it. And I'm very, very excited. Look, I love Thanksgiving. It's my favorite holiday. But in terms of the basketball that we get to see, it's incredible. You've already seen it, man. It started this weekend, fed into Monday, more games coming up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I mean, it's going to be unbelievable. And I want to start really quickly with the women, and then we'll talk about the men, because Indiana women's basketball has been in action. And with everything going on, we failed to mention them several times. So I want to make sure that we do that. Look, this is a new look Indiana women's team, right? This is a team that has been one of the most dominant teams in the country the last handful of years. They've been competing for Big Ten titles, for national championships. I mean, they've had some serious girls come through this program, and we've lost some of those. And so we knew it was going to be a new look team, and it was going to be a long season. Not long season bad, just what's the best way to say this? I guess it was going to be a rebuild, and it was going to take some time to figure out what we had and get back to what we were. And I think you saw that in those first 3 games, right? It's like, man, all right, you get your win, right? You get your first win under your belt. That's fine. Then you drop them to Harvard and Butler, which I don't think are as bad as people are making it out to be, but it still doesn't look good, right? These are games that Indiana women's basketball just hasn't lost here recently, losing to Harvard and to Butler. All of a sudden, you're 1-2. Then you get a top 25 team in Stanford and you win. It's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, everything's fine. Maybe we're back. And then you continue that with Columbia. Then you do it again with Baylor, right? You take down a top 20 team in the Baylor Bears. Then you get another top 25 team in North Carolina. We're thinking, here we go. We're going to do it again. We're going to get a third top 25 win on the season. Not so fast, my friend, is what the Tar Heels said. And Indiana struggled mightily to score the basketball in this game. Defensively, I think we were fine. We just played so much of it because we just flat out couldn't score, man. And look, give the Tar Heels a ton of credit here. They locked us down. I mean, just couldn't get anything going. It was around the perimeter, a lot of one-on-one basketball, and just had nothing, no answers. Did Indiana in this game against North Carolina? They fall 69-39. So that's the tough part of the schedule. Now you've got some of these weaker non-conference games to kind of get your feet back under you a little bit before the Big Ten slate starts. Here's what the ladies have: Maine, Southern Indiana, at Penn State, Bellarmine, Oakland, and then you really kick off Big Ten play on the 28th against Wisconsin. So really looking forward to it. And man, if you have not looked at the rankings inside of women's basketball in the Big Ten, yikes, watch out. They are going to be playing top 25 team after top 25 team after top 25 team, including the #1 team in the land, UCLA. So keep that in mind. I mean, just looking through the schedule, there's 6 or 7 top 25 teams. So wanted to shout out them for a second, and we'll keep up with them as the season goes on. In terms of the men for Indiana basketball, we get going on Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, in the battle for Atlantis. Play the first game of the tournament that early, right? 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern time, where we play the Cardinals of Louisville. And I feel like there's people who will pick Louisville to win this game, but I ask you why. Like, what have you seen from this Louisville team that tells you they're good. Indiana's got our own problems, and we're still a good team, and we need a tournament like this to really figure ourselves out and try to find who we are a little bit. And hopefully, yes, hopefully, we go down here and get punched in the mouth. I hope Louisville does it, to be honest with you. Somebody needs to kind of humble us a little bit and say, hey, you're not as good as you think you are, because that will help us down the road become a really, really good team. Man, I've seen some incredible teams play in these last handful of days, and we're not there yet. We can be. Indiana absolutely can get there, but I'm telling you, we're not right now. And Louisville's a perfect start to test ourselves in the battle for Atlanta. That game is on Wednesday, right, in the Bad Boy Mowers battle for Atlanta. Sorry, down there in the Bahamas. And then you pull up the entire bracket of what this is going to look like, right? Arizona, Davidson, Gonzaga, Indiana, Louisville, Oklahoma, Providence, and West Virginia are the teams that are in the tournament. And so you basically have them all down the middle. If you win, you go one way. And if you lose, you go another at the very beginning of the tournament. And so here's what's great. You start with a big brand like Louisville, and then you hope to play another big brand in the next round. That could either be West Virginia, which wouldn't be bad, or it could be Gonzaga, which would be awesome. And I really think that's the game we need. That is the game where we will go into it. We'll be confident. We'll have a chance. Don't know if we win, but that'll be the measuring stick we're looking for in this early 24-25 season, is to go up against Gonzaga. There's other teams. I mean, look, they want to see Gonzaga, Arizona. They've already talked about it. ESPN's already got the promos in the bank ready to go for Arizona and Gonzaga. But I think we can play spoiler here. I told you over the summer, I think Indiana can win the battle for Atlantis. And I hope we do. I think we still can, but it's going to take some really good basketball. And I'm ready to see where we are. Can we respond? Can we get up? And can we just play good games? If we do, we're going to have a chance to win this thing. And I want to see us gel. I want to see us mold in this game and become a really solid team when they start playing in the battle for Atlantis. That gets going on Wednesday. Indiana and Louisville, right? That's over the Thanksgiving holiday. So able to sneak away from the family after you get a nice full belly. Be sure you're keeping up with Indiana basketball. All right, we're going to do our best to keep up with it here on Locked On Hoosiers. We will still have our daily episodes coming out, reacting to everything going on. That's the college football playoff. That's Indiana basketball. Anything else that happens, you never know, right? It's college sports. Crazy things happen every single day. And that's going to do it for today's episode. We are back tomorrow, okay, Hoosier fans? So again, for those of you on audio, be sure you follow and be sure you have those notifications turned on, okay? Don't want you to miss any episodes of Locked On Hoosiers. And for those of you on the video side, be sure you like it here on YouTube. Be sure you comment down below your thoughts on the battle for Atlantis. Do you have a prediction? Who wins the battle for Atlantis? Let me know down below. And then be sure, if you have not already, subscribe to the channel. All right, we're back tomorrow, Hoosier fans. Until then, stay safe. I'll talk to you later.